my my perspective on For All the Dogs album. Obviously that's Drake's recent project that he recently released. I took a listen to it. Um, I thought it was a solid project. You know, Drake's always gonna have some joints in any project he puts out. Just pretty much like the amount of joints that you like, I guess, mess with, or it's that type of thing. Um, Drake doesn't put out. It just may not be as good as some of his other records, type thing. But I think Drake's that you know great of an artist, in my opinion. Been a fan of him uh, since the '09, since '09, when Best I Ever Had came out. So Far Gone, you know, that was my, you know, introduction to Drake. Musically, I was aware that he did the Degrassi, but became musically aware of him '09. And since then, just been a fan of his. Since then, um, you know, when it comes to artistry and creativity, um, I view myself as a creative, as an artist. Um, I understand just the creative process and the evolution and all that kind of stuff. Um, for a lot of people like myself who've been fans of Drake since that, '09, maybe even prior to, um, a version of Drake. Um, and, you know, it's like maybe that was as a creatively, that was the time in which you might have embraced or appreciated his music, whatever he was putting out best then, you know. But one thing I think most fans, people who aren't creators, just people who are fans and consumers, they don't quite understand the creative and the evolution process. You know, as an artist, you're living your life, and where you're at in your life is from. So, that, '09, '10, or '11, those time periods, as most people who are fans of Drake, who listen to Drake, um, understand, like in those time periods, he was a lot more introspective about his feelings, his emotions, and his relationships with women, and just very emotional about these things. And always there was a narrative at a point in time. It was like Drake's always crying on records or whatever the case may be, because he's being so emotional. And the very, how can I say, like, uh just melancholy kind of vibe he used to have in his music. Um in some of his records, some records, like a Marvin's Room, or Hold On, We're Going Home, that records, stuff like that. He doesn't necessarily make those kind of records as he once used to. But that was kind of his vibe then. Those, very slow and type of joints. And then obviously he would do his rap joints. But he doesn't do that necessarily now as much. Where he's at now, he's experimenting as a creative, as an artist in other areas. And I can understand that and I respect it. Whether I'm the biggest fan of the experimentation or whatever the case may be, that's a one thing. But as a creative, as an artist, I can understand, like, you're trying to experiment, you're trying to tap into different things. You know, this is where you're at right now in your life. And you know, one of the things, like I had seen the clip with Joe Budden speaking on, you know, Drake's pretty much his subject matter. I think that was the main thing for him, is just like his subject matter. Like, you know, you're at this age, you should be talking about this, that, and the third. And that's totally understandable. Um, to just that's his perspective, that's his opinion. But like I said, as a creative, where Drake's at, like he's, as a creative, speaking on, his, his lifestyle now is pretty much, lavish lifestyle, different women he's I guess messing with. He's not as kind of like in that like emotional state where he's like, oh, I'm, crying. Like he's not really on that. He's just kind of on some, I don't really care anymore. I'm just, living my life, doing what I want to do and messing with my crew, whatever. Like that's kind of the vibe that he's on. And, a lot of people who are fans of Drake or whatever, or people prior, in the past, they're more connected to a past, the past version of who he was, and not necessarily where he's at now. And I can, even for myself, um, relate to that. Like there's a lot of people who just on a personal level, like they connect with a past version of who I am. They don't necessarily connect with who I am in the present, but as a just a person living life, not just even as a creative. Like this is just where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? And some people are gonna accept it, some people don't. You know what I'm saying? I've experienced it. You know what I'm saying? Some people just, they just more comfortable and appreciate, past versions of who I am, not who I am in the present and where I'm, where I'm going. And it's the same principle, same concept that I feel like Drake's going through. And like I said, like that's just part of being a creative. You know what I'm saying? Part of being an artist. Um, when it comes to the album, he definitely, I said he experimented with some, newer producers, had Lil Yachty on some of the production, experimented with some new artists that he hasn't been working, he hasn't had previous works with. And like I said, I mean, this is just part of being an artist and being a creative, man. You got to experiment, you got to grow, you got to evolve. That's just part of it. And some people going to be with it, some people not. What I'm saying. Um, and so, I'm always going to be a Drake fan. You know what I'm saying? Forever. You know what I'm saying? I'm always going to be a Drake fan. Obviously, is there projects that I like, or I prefer um more than others that Drake has put out? Yeah. Um, I would say my favorite era of Drake, you know, musically would be mainly from the '09 to 14. That's probably my favorite era of Drake musically. Like I said, it doesn't mean that the music he's put out past that, from what 15 to 2023, is bad. Like he's put out good joints. He's put out some, some projects that's cool. But like on a personal level, just as a fan of Drake and his artistry, that's probably my favorite era. And I just think that a lot of times we just like to, as as fans and of people's work, we like to like downplay you know what I'm saying, people's evolution and growth. And same thing that with Kanye. Kanye goes through that. We miss the old Kanye and all that type of stuff. Same principle, man. Just artists growing and evolving, and people not necessarily, riding with it. And then you got some people who do, and yeah. So the project, like I said, project was solid. Project was good. So I'm looking forward to more Drake.